All right, so I want to introduce you to the family. This is Phoenix. He's 5. Kiri is 9, and Gray is 10. But we have a recent addition. So Megan has Cruz, who is now officially part of our family. We are super excited, and we want to tell you the story about how he came to be a part of our family and how God has worked to just blow our minds and how adoption can happen. What did you think when we told you about Cruz the first time?
I was crying.
Why were you crying?
Because I was so happy.
You were so happy.
When I finally met him.
Phoenix, what did you think about Cruz when you heard about Cruz the first time?
Well, I just really wanted to meet him, and he was just cute when I first saw him.
It was cute.
So y'all go in there. We're going to talk a little bit about the story. Kiri, will you take Cruz with you? So what are we doing?
We are walking to the hospital to meet possibly our 4th child.
Random call this morning that we were not
About
expecting.
7 hours ago, I was in a different state, and Evan was at church. And a baby was born about 1 o'clock today. It's 5 o'clock now. He's about 4 hours old. And I guess we're going to see how the mama likes us.
There we go.
Every emotion.
All right. Over the past few years, we had felt like God was giving us the desire to have a bigger family, but we didn't know what that looked like. And so we had thought about adoption, we had prayed through it, and we had kind of prepared ourselves for it, but we weren't sure what that looked like for us. I know adoption looks different for many people. We felt like we were spiritually ready and mentally ready for it, but we didn't know what the next step was. We hadn't reached out to an agency. We had not talked to any kind of consultants. We hadn't done anything. And God was just working in the background to provide us with another piece of our family that we didn't know was even a possibility.
It's been amazing to see how when we just kind of opened ourselves up to see what God had for us, how he was working the whole time, preparing us even before we knew we were prepared to grow our family. But we feel like each step, even when we didn't know it was happening, was just confirming that Cruz was meant to be part of our family. We were in a situation where we could say yes immediately and meet this child when he was 4 hours old and bring him home the next day, really, as ours. And so God was working on provision for that even when we didn't realize that's what he was doing.
We got a call this morning about something that is really, I don't even know how to explain it because I'm still trying to figure it out. But we had a call this morning from Miss Cindy's sister at church.
And she asked if our family would want a 4th kid. Would our family want a baby that we would, as long as everything worked out, would keep forever and ever, and it would be your little brother.
You're gonna die.
So many more. But this baby was born at 1 o'clock today.
Today?
Today. This baby is brand new and so handsome, and we have pictures to show you. And they asked if Gray and Kiri and Phoenix would want to be big brothers and sisters forever and ever for this baby.
I'm gonna cry.
I've cried all day. And so it's amazing because this baby needs a family, and they thought we might be good people to be its family. Do you think we would be good people to be the baby's family?
Well, first I need to see the pictures.
That will determine whether you think it's a good idea or not.
I guess so.
Yes, sir.
I don't know, but if I only need I'll know enough to see the pictures first.
A little bit of the background and how this story happened. So I was at church with the kids. Megan was actually at the beach with some friends, and they were getting ready to come home.
Other people had been reached that were kind of on these lists and for different reasons said no or not yet, and they needed a yes immediately. So Cindy comes to church and actually approaches our pastor and his wife, and they said, this child is not for us, but we know who it is for. And they called me. I'm in Florida. I immediately fell into a chair, a recliner, just at this notion that there was a baby out there that could be potentially for our family. And so the girls that I was with were a great support system. We threw our stuff in the car and we started to drive north. And that was the longest and shortest ride of my life. I spent the ride on the phone with the lawyer. She started doing paperwork in hopes that we can meet the mother and that she would approve us to be the parents for her child.
I was actually in Sunday school. My phone rang and Megan was calling me. And so I was like, decline the call. I'll call her back in a little bit. When we got out of class, Kim, my pastor's wife, was looking at me and she's like, is that Megan calling you? You might want to step outside and take that. And I was like, oh man, who died? What's going on? What's wrong? She's out of town. I'm worried something's wrong. And so she says, there's a baby that needs a home. They're offering him to us. Would we take it? I was like, yeah, immediately we said yes. We knew that God, like I said, God was preparing us for adoption. We just didn't know how it looked. And so we're trying to figure out all the details. What is this? This has just hit us like a ton of bricks because we're like, I don't even know what this looks like and how this works and how, like, what do we got to do to make this happen? We talk on the phone back and forth as we are trying to figure out the details. And then Megan's on the way home. I finish church, take the kids, and drop them off with my parents so we can go meet the baby. We didn't know what his name was at the time. He had just been born. He wasn't even born when we had the first phone call. Like, this is amazing that we get to possibly have this kid into our home. What do we need to do? And a few minutes later, the lactation nurse came in and she was like asking the birth mom about breastfeeding. And she said, well, actually, I'm not going to be breastfeeding. And these are the parents. He's going up for adoption. And so at that point, we'd been like 45 minutes. At that point, we didn't realize that we were like she'd approved us or whatever, like chosen us. But that statement right there just kind of hit us like, wow, that was
a big moment. And I was holding him at that time. We didn't know if we would even meet him, and we met the birth mother. But as soon as we walked in, she wanted us to hold him and bond with him. And so when she said, these are the parents, and I was holding Kim, I could feel that completion happen in that moment. There was no way I was giving him back after that point, and just to hear her confirm that we were the parents to a third party was just huge. And we're looking at this perfect face and this handful of hair. You know, we woke up that morning and didn't have a clue that's how our day would go. You know, he was going to go to church and I was going to drive home from the beach. And here we were that afternoon holding this perfect child and being told that we were worthy enough in this lady's eyes to be his parents.
So that was right at 4 months ago, 3.5 months ago, May 21st is his birthday. And we had custody the next day. So as of September 12th, he is officially ours. We have finalized the adoption in only 3.5 months, and which is amazing. It's just a testament to how God works in situations and provides things that we can't even think would be available. This whole story is something that we wanted to share, to be intentional about giving God the glory for it, because we didn't do anything. Like, it just literally, we were approached with it out of the blue. And we were in a place where we were ready to say yes. We'd already decided and prayed about what God was doing in our lives, though we had no clue what it would look like. And so that's something we wanted to share, just to talk about how God can use a situation that you're not prepared for if you're ready and willing to say yes to the things and the doors that he opens for you.
Yeah, you hear this concept of living with your hands, open. Okay, God, I want to be somebody that is ready for what you have. It's easy to live with your everything closed and try to be in control. And I'm guilty of that often, but I feel like as soon as we kind of got to the spot, we're like, okay, we can live with our hands open a little bit and say, all right, God, like, we want to see what you have for us. And he delivered in a way we never would have imagined. And we've seen him walk us through every single step.
Another thing too, just the courage that she had to give up her son, who she did not feel like she had the capacity to take care of and care for adequately. We're sincerely thankful for her generosity, but also foresight to know that she wouldn't be able to do it, and to say, I want something better for him than what I can have and provide.
I've really been in awe of her, like to see her strength in the hospital because she did it out of love. She loved him enough to say, I want a different life for him, and to love him enough to follow through with that. That would be so hard to do. And she stayed true to that. And it was just an amazing handoff, really, of him starting life with us as a day old.
So one thing we're really thankful for is Save a Life. They were ready when Kathy, who was on the board of Save a Life, was available and ready to meet the needs of this mom. She came to the realization that the adoption she'd been considering, it had to happen. So we're super thankful for Save a Life and organizations like that, and it's awesome how God can use them. What's that? We got it?
He's adopted. Woo! We know so many people whose adoption timeline is so long, and we know ours short timeline is almost unheard of. But God's timing in all things seems to be unheard of. We're just thankful and amazed at how God builds families in different ways. When you're expecting it, when you're praying for it, and even when you're not, that His plan is far greater than any plan we have. We can't imagine life without Cruz now. I get choked up thinking about him not being ours, and how thankful I am that he is, and how thankful that God has a plan when I can't even imagine it. And it really pushes my trust in him further to know that when things don't work out in my timing, in our timing, when things don't look the way that they should in my mind, that ultimately God will make them bigger, better, stronger. And this perfect little face is just part of that testimony.